Let's kick it. A new week. Hi, Thomas Miller on the Fun Astrology Podcast, June 12th, Monday. And I got some news for you. This week, folks, has already happened. It did yesterday. The week happened yesterday. Pluto is now in Capricorn, moving back to 27 degrees between now and October 11th. Mercury is in Gemini for its boom, 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 boot, scoot, and boogie right on through there, but it's home. And remember, Pluto is basically at the cusp of Aquarius, right? Because today it's like 29 degrees, 58 minutes. So it's right there, sitting on the cusp, baking between the old and the new. Mercury is over there in Aries Gemini, so that's a trine. But be watching for somebody to say something and realize that if the relationship or the partnership or whatever is affected by it, and if it goes south, Pluto death and rebirth, that it probably needed to. Or at least without some major transformation, it shouldn't continue in its current form. Now that could be a relationship or partnership or anything in your own life that comes under that umbrella. I mean, it's not specific to relationships, just saying verbally, where do verbal things happen? That's one of them, certainly, right? But if it's some other area of your life or in the mundane, we can be watching for it as well. And if we were to list all of the options of where it might show up, it would be TLTR, too long to read, so we won't do it. But just keep an eye on things, and as much or as little as you want, and just see, but watch for that. Have an eye out for that. Somebody says something, there's some kind of communication, and there's some kind of Plutonian reaction. And if you really wanted to ice the cake on the embellishment of this, it would be around a structure, a Capricornian structure of something that needed to change anyway. If you see that, then you know it's coming from the heavens. Now, to add some spice to that possible mercurial miscommunication, we have the moon in Aries today. It goes into Taurus tomorrow. How long is the void of course tomorrow? Yesterday had to be a down day. I was naughty and had to take some time off because I had a little heart issue yesterday. So I saw the void of course yesterday, and it was like this. App comes up on the thing, flashes up. The moon is void of course. 1001, 1002, 1003, 1000. The moon is now in Aries. It was like that, seriously. I'm not kidding. When it flashed up, the moon is void of course, I knew exactly what was going on, right? Because we had talked about this, and I knew this was going to be the shortest of the batch. And I thought, well, I wonder how long this is going to take. And it literally, by the time I got that thought formed in my brain, the screen changed. Well, tomorrow, when the moon changes into Taurus at 2:31 Eastern, it'll be a whopping 5-minute void of course. And then while we're on this theme on Thursday, when it moves into Gemini to join and chase Mercury, that one will be 9 minutes. You see a pattern. Now, listen, this is what's amazing. So outside of the moon, doing what it does, the only other exact aspect is Thursday, when Mercury squares Saturn. And see, that continues this theme that we just talked about. So we're with it all week. Yeah, you got to step on eggshells all week. Or let Pluto do what it needs to do. Put it out there. It'll take care of it for you. The ears will hear as they are to hear, according to the sky. So we have a super light week of energy. Now, let's shift our focus to the big deal, and that is that big grand cross, the two T-squares, or basically 4 planets joined together in the chart by square aspects. And this is what we were talking about last week. Let's just freshen up the list in our mind. Speaking of Pluto, that's one. Venus and Mars are directly opposite Pluto, so we're setting up the 2 pivot points, if you will, and they are getting closer because Venus is closing the gap. Now they are 7 degrees apart in Leo. And then the other opposition, the nodes of the moon, so we have that axis, and then Jupiter is still very close to the north node. So those are your players. Pluto, opposite Venus, Mars, and then the other squares are the nodes of the moon and Jupiter. That whole list is either in a square or opposition to each other. Now, we talked about this last week. When does this break up? When will this energy move out of our lives? Well, not for a while, because the first leg of this square Think of a square right in the middle of the chart with crosses through the middle of it, right? Grand cross. The first leg to break will be the square between the South Node and Venus and Mars in Leo. Now, when will this happen? Well, what kind of orb do you want? Because that's what we're dealing with here. 5-degree orb Wednesday, 6-degree orb Thursday, 7-degree orb Friday. Should I keep going? You set your squares. I don't know. Where do you put your squares? I would say Thursday or Friday we'll start to see that one start to peel off a little bit. But does that disrupt the others? Oh, no. The rest of that square, the other 3 sides of that square, will stay intact at least until next Sunday. Then it starts to break up, but we get a couple of other squares in there after that we won't talk about here. But in the last half of June, we have some other squares that will come into this same structure that we'll be talking about. And then that remaining T-square between Pluto and the nodes of the moon will be there until your grandchildren are in their 30s. It seems like it. Eventually the nodes will pull away, but Pluto ain't going to go anywhere, and that's going to be months, not days. So we do have to work around the same energy that we had last week. So there's the surprise element, and there is the heaviness element. We talked about it last night on Level Up. All right, and here's the deal, guys. If there's not a podcast one of the days this week, it's because I did just a momentary self-care selection, okay? I've got people yelling, "Stop it, Thomas, stop it." So we'll just see. If I need a day, I'm going to take it, all right? And otherwise, if you have questions, great week for it. Throw them on the speak pipe up at the top left of the Fun Astrology podcast, and when we're here, we'll do them. That'll be fun. All right, you guys have a great one. We'll see you when we see you.